So what do you do if you have knit your swatch but you are not getting the gauge that you were targeting? First of all, I always advise to note down even the wrong gauge. As I mentioned in my previous video where I explained how to make the swatch, I keep my own gauge journal and I will note down even the gauges that were not my target, because then I know that for this yarn, with these needles, I am getting this gauge and that's valuable information for me next time. In most cases, you will want to make another swatch. If you were getting too many stitches per 10 cm, that means your gauge is too tight and you need to go with bigger needles. If you're getting too few stitches per 10 cm, that means your gauge is too loose and you need to go with smaller needles. Of course, always remember that the most important bit is get the stitch gauge. You don't need to worry that much about getting the row gauge. There are very few exceptions to this rule. There will be some situations where you have swatched, you have not gotten the correct gauge, but you really like the fabric that has been created. In those cases, if you're up to it, you can do the math and change the stitch count and the row count in the pattern. It takes some fiddling, it takes some adjusting, but sometimes it's just worth it. Sometimes you just really like the fabric that you're getting, and sometimes you just really want to make the garment in this fabric, and that's perfectly acceptable. You just need to know that then it's on you to make the adjustments, and you can't really blame the pattern if something doesn't work out there. Bit more risky option if you're not getting the target gauge. You could go with a smaller or bigger size of the garment that you're making. It is not guaranteed to work and you can't really control for it. Either way, regardless of which options you choose, if you haven't gotten the gauge that you wanted on your swatch, remember that we swatch for our own good. Swatches are our biggest helpers in the knitting process and they really make things easier for us.